Hi, everyone. So today we are going to look at chapters 42 and just the beginning of 43. So I don't have anyone here with me in Zoom, so I'm just going to go through this. That way, if you want to look at it yourself, you can, but I'll go pretty quickly through this. Okay, so let me change my screen. Okay, so remember in the chapter 41, um, the Nervi, who'd been sort of induced by Ambiorix to try the same thing that he had tried against Sabinus and Coda. The Nervi try that same exact thing um, with Quintus Cicero, who's another one of these generals in charge of a different legion. And so they attack, and then when the attack doesn't work, after a few days of these really intense fighting, they come and they try to deceive Quintus Cicero, and so they say, "Hey, all of Gaul is up in arms. The Germans have crossed the Rhine, and there's no real help from anyone else. But we like you, and so we want you can leave and go wherever you like to some other legion." Well, that worked for Coda and Sabinus. It does not work for Cicero. And so Cicero then responds, well, that the Romans are not accustomed, that's on the previous page, to accept from the enemy conditions. If they wish to depart from arms, they could use him as a helper, and they might send messengers to Caesar and hope for his justice, which they sought, hope to obtain for his justice that which they sought. So essentially, he said he doesn't buy it. He doesn't fall for their trick. They then immediately sort of go back to battle. So ab hoc spe repulsi, repulsed from this hope. What is the hope? Well, the hope is that they could deceive them and get them out of the camp and ambush them, like Coda and Sabinus. So they are repelled from this hope. The Nervi kingunt, kingo kingere, to encircle. A kinga is a belt, right? So they encircle, and what do they encircle? Taverna, that's our direct object. And what do they encircle it with? This is wallow et falsa. Those are both ablative. This is our ablative of means. What they encircle the winter quarters with a wall of 9 feet and with a ditch of 15 feet. Haec et superiorum honorum consuetudine et ab nobis cognaverant. Et. Notice that those are what we would call correlatives. These things, meaning the wall and the ditch, these things cognoverat, they had learned, ob nobis, from us, consuetudine, and this whole phrase here is by the custom, and then the genitive of the earlier years of this superior, earlier, prior, of the prior years. So they'd learned this from us, from the custom, from the sort of habits, right? Um, the Gauls had learned siege techniques, that is the sort of wall and ditch, from the Romans, right? They're imitating the Roman siege techniques that they had learned in earlier years. And they also learned it both from us in our custom of the previous years and the A's by those quos de exercitu habebat captivos, those whom were captives, quos captivos, notice those are working together, who habebat, whom they had as captives, de exercitu, from the army. And that exercitu is the Roman army. Docebantur, they were taught. So, in fact, here's our subject. These things they were taught. Both, I'm sorry, actually, we have two verbs here. These things they learned from the custom, from our custom, from us by our custom of the previous years, and they were taught by those ones whom they held as captives. So they learned siege techniques both from watching the Romans, but also from Roman captives that they held. Sed nola fermentorum copia, quae esset ad huc usum idonea, gladiis caspides circumcedere, manibus sagulisque terram exhaurire nitebantur. Okay, so you notice this word here, fermentorum. This is from ferrum, which is iron. So these are iron tools, and it's, you notice the genitive. So it's the copia, nola copia fermentorum. And even there, we notice that nola copia, that is, that's ablative. So, but with no supply of iron tools, quae, the supply, which esset ad hunc usum idonea, which are to this use idonea, suitable. And this idonea is here really is kind of describing that quae as an adjective. And the quae, of course, the antecedent of that quae is the copia. The supply is suitable, right? If you're going to dig ditches and build walls and things like that, it's good to have iron tools, right? But they don't have any of those. Gladiis caspides circumcedere. Now, this is not a common word. Caspides, it is grass. And that's accusative. And it's really the direct object of circumcedere. Circumcedere, to the root word here, caedere, to cut. This is to cut around. So they cut around the grass, the turf, to make this wall and trench. Gladiis are ablative of means. So they cut around the turf with swords. Manibus sagulisque terram exhaurire nitebantur. And they strove nitebantur. They strove exhaurire to, well, the root word here is haurio, to sort of pour out, to sort of to remove, right? Exhaurire. They strove to remove terram, the earth, and then we have two ablatives. What did they strive to remove the earth with? Well, with manibus, with their hands, but also with sagulis. This would be sort of their cloaks. So you can imagine how, like, almost comical this must look to the Romans. They don't have tools for digging, and so they're using their swords to dig, and then they're hauling stuff with their hands and with cloaks. Qua quidem ex re hominum multitudo cognosci potuit. Cognosco, cognoscere, to learn. But you notice the I here, this is our passive infinitive. Potuit cognosci, it was able to be learned. Make sure you keep that passive. What was able to be learned? Multitudo. The multitude. Qua quidem ex re. Now this, quidem indeed, but qua is describing re. From this thing, from this matter, meaning the fact that they were cutting with swords and the like, it was able to be learned, the multitude, hominu, genitive, describing that multitude, the multitude of men. How many Belgians were there here? Well, you can tell just based upon this. They didn't have tools to do it. Nam menos oris tribus milium pedum quindecem in circuitu munitionem perfecerunt. Perfecerunt, for they completed. Menos oris tribus, in less than 3 hours. Now, of course, why is this ablative? Well, because it's our ablative of time. In less than 3 hours, they completed. What did they complete? Munitionem milium pedem quindecem in circuitu. A fortification, and then we're talking about the wall here. A fortification, how big is this fortification? Well, it's pretty darn big, right? It is milium pedum. Literal, remember this phrase is just means mile. Literally 1,000 of paces. So a fortification of 15 miles. So that just means of 15 miles in circuitu, in circumference, right? So we know, or the Romans were able to learn how many men there were, because even with this, like, without tools, they were able to do 15 miles of a wall in less than 3 hours. It's a lot of people. Relinquis diebus turres ad altitudinem valli, falces testudines quae, quas idem captivi doquerant, parare ac placere ceperunt. So again, we're getting a lot of battle terms here, right? We get the turres, those are towers, the wallum, which is the wall. The falces, these are like grappling hooks. testudineis. Now, testudo could be the Roman formation, right, of soldiers where they have shields on both sides and a shield on top, and they're sort of this protective. Testudo should be known means turtle. But testudo also was a structure that was used in battle, and it was like a movable shed. So why do you want a movable shed? Well, it gives you protection from arrows, so you can like move it and do work in areas without being while being protected from arrows and spears coming down on you. So in the remaining days, ablative of time, and then let's just go pick up what our verb is. And you notice the verb, immediately we see parare, ac facere, caperunt. We have a verb and then two infinitives. So caperunt, they began, and what did they begin to do? They began to prepare and to make all of these things. Towers, ad altitudinem valli, to the height of the wall, and that's the Roman wall, right? They began to, and you want towers to the height of the wall so that you can like push the tower up against the wall or up toward to the wall, and then you can cross over onto it. Falques, grappling hooks, and testudines, and these sheds. I don't know what's a better word for a movable shed. I don't know if we have an English word. Yeah, and I'm looking down at the note here. It just says tortoise. Yeah, they started making tortoises. Quas idem captivi doquerum, which, so this is the quas is referring to all of these things: the towers, the grappling hooks, and the testudines, which doquerunt, they had learned. Oh, no. It's accusative nominative, which the captives, the same captives, had taught them. Pluperfect active, and we want to keep that active then. You notice the natural impulse is to make it passive because we were talking about all these things, which they had learned, but it is active, which the same captives had taught them. And why the same? What same are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the same that they'd learned about the sort of strategies up here by those whom they held captive from the army. So these are Romans that were held captive are teaching them about techniques, about siege techniques. Okay, so that's 42. We're going to just do the beginning of 43, the first two lines here. Septimo appugnationis die. Again, we see an ablative with any sort of word for time, and it's going to be an ablative of time. In the seventh day of the fighting, Maximo coorto vento. Notice the, what is that? Well, that's an ablative absolute. Coorto from orior or ire, ortus, which means to rise. And the co just is that intensifying prefix. The greatest wind rose up. Oh, now I'm getting feedback from my YouTube there. Okay. The greatest wind having risen up, or a very large wind having risen up. Verwentes fusili ex argilla glandes fundis et verwefacta Jacola in casas. Okay, now we got a whole bunch of some more battle terms here. This Ferwentes, this is like burning, we get like fervent from this. And fusili is describing, this is sort of molten, and it's describing the glandes. So glandes, which are like acorns, right? Well, they are acorns, but that's not the sense here. These are slugs, like you've thrown a sling, like right here, fundis, with slings. Slugs, well, they're burning molten slugs from ex argilla, from clay, with slings. Maybe we'll go pick up our verb. Keperunt yakeri. They began to throw, meaning the Belgians began to throw burning molten slugs from clay with slings. And Verwe Facta Yakola, literally like made burning, lit on fire spears in casas, into the homes. So they began to throw essentially red hot clay slings and flaming spears into the huts, into the houses. These are the houses within the Roman camp. Quae more Gallico, which, according to by the custom of the Gauls, stramentis, well, what does it look like? Stramentis, well, it's straw, right? With straw, erant tecti, the roofs, or not the roofs, they were constructed, they were covered. Take this as a verb from tego tegare, texi, to cover. They were roofed with straw. Of course, this tego tegare, texi, tectus gives us the word tectum, which is a roof, which you've seen plenty of times. So which according to the custom of the Gauls, were roofed with straw. So what happens when you throw flaming spears and molten slingshots into the roofs of straw, into straw roofs? Well, they catch on fire. Hi celeriter ignem comprehenderunt. They seized fire quickly. These is describing the casai celeriter ignem comprehenderunt. Et venti magnitudine in omnem locum castrorum distulerunt. And the wind distulerunt, the root word here of distulerunt is ferro tulilatus, right? So to carry apart and to scatter, right? The winds scattered the fires, right? Magnitudine, in their magnitude, in omnem locum castrorum, into all parts of the camp. So once you have this windy day, and once oops, hold on, wrong button. So we have this windy day, and once the Belgians start flinging and sort of flaming objects into some of the roofs, that then spreads throughout the whole camp. So now the Roman camp is on fire. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop today. We will read the rest of 43 tomorrow. And just a reminder, 43 is as far as we're going to go. We will not be meeting on Friday.